So our first holiday away from our holiday.
Glute.
And then we went back up. Yeah, where did we go? No idea. Yeah, Mud Bath, Hot Springs, Hell's Gate.
Hell's Gate. Stinky.
What was it?
Oh my gosh, it was stinky.
Hi, I'm Coke. Oh, sorry.
Let me do my intro. It's gonna be so weird to be ready. Hey, welcome back to the Guess Where I Am podcast and who I'm with. I'm Coke, and we have a very special guest today.
Hi. I'm Joe.
You guys have probably heard me talk about him a lot. And he's finally here in Seattle, because that's where we are, and he's who I'm with.
Oh yeah.
And we got lots to talk about.
Yes, we do.
We've been on plenty of travels together, and I think we're going to start at the beginning.
We're going to wind back the clock all the way back to the start to our very first trip together.
Yes. Let's get into it.
Yeah. Let's begin.
How are you feeling? Are you nervous?
No, I'm okay. I think we should just have a little chat about what we've been up to. What have you been up to the last week or so? I mean, how long has it been since I last saw you? Couple of weeks?
Yeah, which you weren't supposed to be here right now. Great surprise.
Was not supposed to be here.
Surprise. I'll take it.
You also got a new roommate.
Guys, I do have a new roommate. I don't think I'm allowed to say her name though.
Did you sign an NDA?
I didn't sign an NDA, but because she's like already somebody's cat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think, like, I know I'm not supposed to post about her.
You don't have to say her name. Just say
so
who
she's Little Miss Kitty Girl. We'll call her.
Little Miss Kitty Girl. Nice.
And I'm fostering her for probably like 3 months, I think. But yeah, Little Miss Kitty Girl is the best. I'm obsessed. And she might make an appearance at one point.
She may. And then because Anna signed an NDA, we'll have to cut the video and we'll have to start all over again.
No, I didn't sign an NDA. She could be in it, but lots of cats look similar. So I think that'll be fine.
Nice.
She's in it.
Good.
What about you, Mr. Sir Joe?
I have been busy, been working. I live up in Whistler, which I'm sure Anna has mentioned at some point. But I have just finished the ski season and I've just started 2 new jobs. So one of those jobs is landscaping. So doing a bit of outdoor garden maintenance, landscaping, bricks, that kind of stuff. And then my other job is working as a bear tour guide. So like an outdoor wildlife tour guide, specifically taking people on tours and taking them to places where we know bears live. Black bears.
Super
cute,
cool.
Fluffy, small, little black bears.
I was going to say, they're not big.
No, they're not huge. They're pretty similar size to humans. I mean, the average, the ones in Whistler anyway, between 75 and 150 kg.
Probably majority of our listeners have no idea.
I was about to say for our American viewers, I will translate that / convert that into pounds for you. I mean, it's about double that. So 150 to 300 pounds, that kind of range.
They look so cute from the pictures that you send.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do that because I would struggle to not pet them.
Yeah, exactly the same. Every time we drive up to them, I very much struggle not to get out of the car and go and give them a cuddle. So.
Yeah, precisely that.
Yeah.
Super cool. Love that for you. Love that for us.
Thanks.
A little outdoorsy.
It's great.
Couple.
Living my best life.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I'm here again.
Yeah, exactly.
It was only 2 weeks ago.
And it was only 2 weeks ago, and it's like, what, 2 weeks sooner than you're supposed to be?
Exactly. I don't even know if it was 2 weeks. No, it was 10 days.
Yeah.
It was literally 10 days ago.
Go team.
Oh yeah.
Love it. I think, I don't know, do you not think we should give them like a brief story about us meeting.
A brief story about us meeting?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever
told the
gotten
story?
into it on the pod.
You can if you like.
No, I feel like I tell the story all the time, and I'd love to hear it from your perspective.
Okay.
And if there's anything I should add, I'll add it in.
Okay, will do. So we were both travelling around Australia, and we were both living in a hostel in Cairns. Anna had just arrived. She was fresh off the boat to Cairns. Not literally, she didn't get on a boat, it was a plane, and she was on the west coast before in Perth. But she had just arrived in Cairns. I'd been there for 3 months already, had a job. I was living in the hostel that I was also working in. So I was a travel agent. I was working on the front desk at said hostel. And yeah, I was on lunch break one day and I walked into the kitchen of the hospital. Yeah. You grinning had me in bits there. We'll start that again. So it was not the hospital, although we did end up in a hospital.
Hey, we'll get there
later down the line. No, I was on my lunch break and I went into the hostel kitchen and there was a certain somebody whipping up some lunch in the hostel kitchen, and I started some conversation, as I did pretty much every day as a travel agent, in the kitchen, just trying to find out what people's travel plans were, what was going on, maybe if they were interested in going on some tours, but
doing his job while also on lunch.
Doing my job also while on lunch. That was pretty normal. Yeah, started chatting to her and found out within a very short space of time that she was vegetarian and wanted to go vegan, and she was American and she was gorgeous. And yeah, about a week later, we hit it off and we've been together pretty much ever since. So
yeah, we literally spent every single day together since that first day. During that conversation, so the points that I'll add from my perspective was I wasn't supposed to go to that city or that hostel. I was planning on living in Perth, and then it was super last minute. Louise was already going to Cairns, and I was like, you know what, that's where everybody goes to get jobs. And I was struggling so much to get a job. I was planning to go to Cairns, stay there for maybe a week, get a farm job, and bounce. Within the conversation of meeting Joe, I remember getting interrupted by somebody at the hostel offering me a job. So then I was going to be staying there long term. And then one thing led to another, and here we are.
What can I say? I'm a catch.
Listen, do we want to bring up the text messages that you sent your friends right after we met?
I don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, moving on. So let's wind it all the way back to March of 2024. March last year. Which is when we decided to go on a trip to New Zealand. Our first vacation.
Yeah, our first.
Considering we go on vacations as a career. Our job is to
keep traveling.
Yep, keep traveling, go on holiday as much as possible. So our first holiday away from our holiday.
Yes, which was New Zealand, like we said. And the way that we started this trip was because our friend, James, shout out James.
Cheers.
Was already going to New Zealand because he's half Kiwi and he was going to visit his family. And he basically was like, why don't you guys come and we make a little trip out of it?
Yeah.
So then you and him pretty much booked and planned the entire trip while I was in the hospital.
Yeah, while Anna was in the hospital.
Which I want to say that's Louise and I's topic of our next duo episode is health while traveling.
Yeah, spending time in foreign hospitals.
Because I have quite a bit of experience doing that.
I don't. I'm nice and healthy.
Yeah.
Anna, on the other hand.
So
that's a story for another time.
Exactly.
Great.
So
let's jump over that. Yeah. Me and James
plan the entire thing.
I was working for a company and they very fortunately worked in both Australia and in New Zealand, which was fab because it meant I was able to reach out to all of the companies around New Zealand that did some awesome stuff, and I was able to book us some really great priced tours for me you and James, and get us a camper van as well for a pretty good price too.
Yeah.
And then we only had 12 days, I think it was. I think it was no, it might have even been 11 days.
I think it was 11.
I think it was a 14-night trip, and we spent a couple of days in Auckland either side, and then planned out a loop of the North Island. We had a pretty short amount of time, and we crammed a hell of a lot into that time.
Yeah.
Which
Every
meant,
day
yeah,
there was something.
Yeah. So it wasn't a very flexible kind of itinerary where we just went from here to there whenever we wanted. It was...
Yeah, we're here at this time this day.
Yeah.
The next day we're leaving at this time to get to here at this time. Yeah. Very, very planned out.
Yeah.
And...
Which, don't get me wrong, although it's not my typical kind of style.
Yes.
For a short holiday where you haven't got much time, I think it's the best way to do it.
Yeah, and when you want to fit a lot in. You know, you haven't been to New Zealand prior to that, right?
That was the first time I went
same.
to New Zealand.
And typically most people, I would say, do the South Island first.
I think if people only are able to do one island, they'll normally do the South Island and just not do the North Island and just leave the North Island, because the South Island is the prettier of the two, the more spectacular mountain ranges, etc., etc. However, if you have time to do both, a lot of people will fly into Auckland, do the whole loop and end up back at Auckland. So North Island can actually be quite a popular place to start. And it's normally where we advise, when I was a travel agent anyway, where we would advise people to fly to was typically Auckland, because that's where the big green bus left from, which was called the Kiwi Experience.
Sorry, I'm getting so distracted by little Miss Kitty Girl.
She might actually be in shot now, just the edge of her. I think she might be pretty close.
She's so precious.
She is.
Yeah, so we didn't really have a choice in that. Like, we were definitely going to do the North Island, so...
We only had time for the North Island, so that was it.
But also because that's where his family was.
Yeah, his family were in Auckland.
We spent the first few days in Auckland, celebrated his grandma's 80th birthday. We went indoor skiing.
We did go indoor skiing.
Her birthday wish.
That was what James's 80-year-old grandma wanted to do for her birthday. Vibes.
And I remember being so nervous because James is also a snowboarding instructor. And Joe over here, ski instructor. Yeah. And here I am, 2 months in, or no, what, 4 months at that point? 3 months into the relationship?
3 months, yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I haven't skied prior to that in like 10 years. I'm like, am I about to eat shit and he's going to break up with me immediately?
Yeah, it was plausible, so.
I was so nervous and I didn't want to do it. I was like trying so hard to go sit with James's sister and just be like, I'm out. Yeah. But you guys simply did not let me.
No. To be fair, you crushed it.
Thank you.
I couldn't believe 10 years, hadn't skied, clipped onto a pair of skis, sent it straight down the hill, unreal snowplow, great technique, turns all the way down. Couldn't have asked for much more. So.
Yeah. So I guess the ring was waiting at the end of the slope with that one.
The ring?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then what happened when you came to Whistler?
I never skied. No, I skied like for what, 3 times?
Yeah, what were we there for? Pass. 5 months, got her a season pass. 3 days on skis.
Listen, my boots hurt. They hurt.
Awkward.
Yeah. Anywho, back to New Zealand. So
yes, back to New Zealand.
After we spend, the first few days in Auckland with the fam, we're like, all right, peace. Let's go get this camper van. Where do we start? I genuinely don't remember the names of half the places we went to.
Okay, so I'm going to be doing the majority of the talking for this.
No, I'll put my input in.
Put your input in where you can.
Yeah.
Where your memory allows.
Exactly.
We drove from Auckland, where we picked up the camper van, down to our first stop, which was in Matamata. Good job.
Yeah, thanks.
And what was in Matamata? Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Yeah. So we went to Hobbiton.
Such a cool place. And you guys watched the movies prior to going. I remember falling asleep during them. Yeah. But to get into the vibe and the atmosphere, I think the few days leading up to going there, we watched some of them.
We watched The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings or something. Yeah, I remember.
So that was a super, super cool experience.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Really well done. Did you know that there's actually, I don't know if it's a half marathon, full marathon, 5K or 10K, something.
There's some kind of race around
through Hobbiton.
Yeah, I remember seeing something about that after we left. That would be a pretty cool thing.
That would be really cool to add to the bucket list.
Generally, super cool experience. Really enjoyed it. Loved the film set. Really well looked after.
Yeah.
The tour around was, super interactive. The tour guide was great. we even got to go to a little pub at the end, and we ate some. What did we eat? A little pie. Some kind of little vegan pie they had, and
I remember
I think we had a beer or something like that.
Yeah, like cider.
Yeah. But it was great.
With the tour, you got like a free drink at the end.
Yeah.
And then you could experience the
absolutely
Hobbit pub.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wasn't it called something? Do you remember? I feel like it was like the name of what it is in the movie.
Yeah, and you've called me out now because was it called the Green Dragon?
You know what?
I think it might have been called the Green Dragon.
Really familiar.
Yeah.
Look at you go.
I mean, the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings fans could be screaming at me right now. And I'm slightly disappointed that I can't remember what it's called, but I think it might be called that. Cool.
It was called something.
Yeah, it was called something. Something Hobbity.
But yeah, so that was one of like our van life tour.
Cool. So where did we go next?
This is when it all mixes together. I only know that Matamata was first because James's family came with us.
I'll give you a little clue. Auckland's here. We went down to Matamata.
And then I know we like looped.
And then we went back up. Yeah, where did we go? No idea. We went up the Coromandel Peninsula.
Right. Weren't we going to try to stop at like this mountain or something? Was that place?
No. That was... We'll get to that.
Okay.
So we went up the Coromandel Peninsula. Beautiful scenic drive. Lovely winding roads through the countryside. Really nice little points to stop and take pictures of the view. We drove through the town of Coromandel, which is towards the top of the peninsula. And then we headed over to Cathedral Cove.
Yes, I was going to say, this is where we kayaked.
Yes, this is where we kayaked.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
So we went from one movie set to another because they filmed Narnia. Well, one very short scene of Narnia at the what is it called? Cathedral Cove. Unreal view. So cool.
Yeah.
It was beautiful and it was so fun to kayak through.
Yeah, the water was super blue, but or it was super clear. But it was a really beautiful kayak anyway, and the weather was super nice. We got up pretty early. I think we did it first thing in the morning. We rented the kayaks
from like a local
off
shop.
The beach. Yeah, just right close to the beach. I haggled with the guy a little bit from memory and tried to get us a good deal, and then realised that we didn't have cash, so I ended up just having to pay full price anyway.
Yeah, I remember us trying to like run around and find.
Yeah, there wasn't one. It was a tiny little village. Town. Yeah, spent the morning into the afternoon there. It was a really beautiful beach. Took some nice photos, and then made our way back. Then I think that same day, potentially that night, we went just round the corner from Cathedral Cove to a certain beach of a certain temperature.
Hot water beach, which would make sense if we did this the same day because we waited for the tide and like the heat or whatever, something to be at the right moment for us to go to this beach. Do you remember having to wait?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just changes every day. The tide times change and you've got to wait for the water to go out so that you can lie on the sand and dig your pools.
Dig a little pool. Yeah. Such a cool experience. We did it at night. We looked up, stars everywhere.
Yeah.
There were hundreds of people also on this beach digging holes. So you basically dig in the sand to make a dip, but then when you get to a certain point, there's water in it, and it's hot water. And over very specific parts of the beach, if you dig, what are you on top of? Like a
geothermal.
Yeah, that's what it was. And it's hot, and it was very cool. It was like a personal hot tub. So we got shovels from our campsite.
Yeah,
walked over,
and
had a great time.
Pitch black.
Yeah,
it was. We had head torches on. I think by the time we got there, the next time period to go and dig your holes was at 9 o'clock.
The next day?
No, 9 p.m.
What time do you think we got? We got there when it was pitch black, though. Would it not have been 9 p.m.?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We got there.
Our time slot for going to dig our holes was at about 9 o'clock. So we went and got our shovels and then started digging. And I think eventually we gave up digging because people started to leave. So we just stole their spots because they'd been there for a little while longer.
Yeah. Because it was hard to dig.
Yeah, it was hard to dig. And it was super hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some really warm spots.
You would actually burn yourself.
Yeah, big time.
By sitting somewhere for too long.
Yeah.
But that was a really cool experience.
That was super fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. And the stars were gorgeous.
Beautiful just to lay in it and look up. Yeah.
Next, where did we go? This is your little mountain that we didn't go to the mountain that you were talking about. Yeah, we drove down to...
I remember seeing it.
Yeah, Mount Manganui.
But where did we drive to?
what the town that Mount Maunganui was in.
No. We didn't go to that town, I thought.
We drove through the town, but because of traffic, we didn't have enough time to stop and walk up Mount Maunganui. So we just drove past it, gave it a wave, and then carried on down to Rotorua.
Yes.
That was where we went to. So
yes.
yeah, you stopped off at an avocado farm on the way and bought a couple of avocados from memory.
Oh my gosh.
Was it avocados or was it kiwis?
No, it was avocado because it was like avocado season or something, and they were delicious. It was $3 for like 5 avocados.
Yeah, so good.
Unreal.
Yeah.
I remember finally like cutting open one of them and being like, this is the most beautiful avocado I've ever seen. Nice.
They were super good.
I feel like that's probably what converted you into liking avocados.
Quite possibly.
Because I started making avocado toast.
Yeah, I've eaten a lot of avocados since then. And then we went to Rotorua and we did so much stuff in Rotorua.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was a really jam-packed.
It was busy time for us. Busy time.
Yeah.
I think we did 4 activities in Rotorua. So when we arrived the first night, we did a traditional Maori indigenous experience where we went to a small village within Rotorua, which was indigenous land, and there was a guy that talked about the culture and the history of the indigenous people in that area, and then they did a bit of a dance kind of show for us. A bit of a performance, which was super interesting. Yeah, they played instruments.
They had even like games too that they were playing with each other.
Yeah.
And we were just sitting there and watching them.
Yeah. Did they do some fire spinning as well? Did I make that up?
Yeah, I think there was.
I think they might have done some fire spinning too.
I vaguely remember one of the guys. That was one of his like things. They all kind of had their thing that they showed.
Yeah. And then there was a big buffet and we ate some food and that was night 1.
Oh, and we saw glowworms.
Oh, yeah, and we saw some glowworms as well. And we get to see more glowworms
later on in the trip.
Yeah, later on in the trip. Then the next day... Ooh.
Was this the day that we went horseback riding?
No, that was in Taupo. This was either the luge or whitewater rafting and the mud bath. So let's just say we did the luge because I can't remember the exact order, but the luge was super fun. That was driving the little go-karts down the hill. Yeah,
Louise and I actually also talked about that, I think last episode or a few episodes ago, about how fun luging is and how it's a very Kiwi thing to do. It was literally Mario Kart IRL. So fun. Didn't I come in first place at one point? I don't think I did. I'm going to give myself that title.
No chance. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure she came first at some point,
Yeah. And then, what do we do? Because that was only like a half-day thing.
Yeah, I think there was one day where you just napped for a few hours and me and James went on a bit of a walk. And I think you need to catch up on some sleep. So
yeah, I'm a sleepy gal.
Yeah, you're a sleepy gal. So I think that was one day. Then we had the day where we woke up early and we went whitewater rafting on the Kaituna River. Shout out Kaitiaki Adventures Tours, I think was the name of the company. They were awesome. Fun. Yeah, that was super great.
Great tour. Yeah. Great experience.
The whitewater rafting was incredible. Yeah. I think our tour was only about 45 minutes long, the amount of time we were actually in the raft for, considering I've done whitewater rafting previously. That was 2.5 to 3 hours on the boat. But this specific river that we went on had the highest commercially rafted waterfall drop in the world. Which was, do you remember how tall?
So what, 7 feet or something?
7 meters.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that would
7 feet. You're 5'8", so that's only a foot taller than you, right? Something tells me it was a little bit bigger than that. Yeah, it was 7 meters. It was a big drop.
Yeah, it was a big drop. And didn't they say that like most people fall out of the raft when they do that?
Yeah, the percentage that the raft flips over as opposed to lands upright is actually pretty high. It flips over quite a high amount. Yeah. So your chance of staying in the raft on that specific drop is like 50-50.
But we stayed in?
But we stayed in. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember popping back up because like you go fully under the water.
Boat completely submerges.
Yeah. And then we popped up. Then didn't they have like a camera guy take pictures at that exact moment?
At that exact moment.
Yeah. So fun.
Terrifying, my face.
Also, terrifying.
It was terrifying. Going over the edge of that waterfall and just dropping
knowing
head
it's
first.
Gonna come. Yeah. Because I feel like we were going really slow. It wasn't like a turn. Okay,
Yeah.
drop. It was
a slower section, and then we stopped, and then we were waiting for the rafts in front because we were in a convoy of I think 4 rafts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of other groups going at that same time. I think that's kind of like how they run it, is a bunch at once.
Yeah.
But I do remember, I also think I mentioned this in another episode where the tour guide was messing with us and would tell the 2 other people, because it was you, me, and James, and then a random couple sitting behind us. And I remember the tour guide getting them to sit up in the front and then would dip them under the water, and the water just was like splashing.
Yeah, that was so funny.
And I remember them not speaking English really well, and they were just really
And they didn't really
confused.
paddle much either.
Yeah.
We did a lot of the paddling. Well,
it was a workout.
By the end of that, it was a workout.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were pretty useless. But there we go. Hey ho, what can you do? You don't get to choose who goes to the boat.
Yeah, so. Unless you have a big
We
group.
made it work. We still had a good time.
Such a good time.
Yeah.
But yes, okay.
And then after that?
we went to the hot springs.
Yep.
Nope. It was a hot spring?
Yeah, mud bath,
hot
hot
spring.
Hell's Gate.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Hell's Gate. Stinky.
What was it?
Oh my gosh, it was stinky.
Yeah. What made it stinky? Do you remember?
The sulfur.
Yeah.
The sulfur.
Eggy.
Ugh.
Smells of eggs.
It ruined your chain that I got you a month prior. That we had to get cleaned a million times.
Yeah.
We even changed into, this kind of sounds gross looking back into it, but like bathing suits that they had.
Yeah.
That you could wear if you didn't want to wear your own.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they just threw every bathing suit away afterwards. Yeah, just a one-use thing, because I mean the whole experience, don't get me wrong, was super chill. It was really nice and therapeutic, and you sat in this big mud bath and covered yourself in mud, and then you let it harden, and then you go and sit in like a sulfur water pool and you soak, and it was a really beautiful experience. But the problem was, after we left, our bodies just stank of sulfur.
But they also had a shower.
Days. Yeah, but the showers did not get rid of that at all. It stained your skin, it felt like, and then any clothes that you wore,
even after,
smelled of the sulfur.
We got our clothes professionally cleaned.
Yeah, and they still smell of sulfur. And yeah, my chain, I think I took the chain off when we actually went in. It said removable jewelry. And then I put it on maybe a couple of hours afterwards. And then overnight, when we woke up the next day, my chain was black. Yeah. Crazy. Yeah, obviously the sulfur on my skin just oxidized in some way. I don't know, that's not right. But whatever the chemical thing is that makes it go black from sulfur. But yeah, that was pretty crazy. But it was an awesome experience. So if you're going to go do that, which we recommend,
definitely do it.
Don't wear clothes that you care about.
That too.
Yeah. Just
the day of, probably the day after as well. Go thrifting.
Go thrifting, big time. Yeah.
Get something else.
100%.
Or just shower a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. Because that one shower after, clearly not enough. But it was beautiful. It was relaxing.
Yeah,
it was needed.
It was.
Great time, great views.
Yeah.
So cool. That was Rotorua.
What
did we do?
Summed up. Where do we go next?
Yeah. I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
Can't remember?
Nope.
Went to a big lake? Yep.
Lake Taupo.
Yeah. What did we do at Lake Taupo?
I remember chilling by the lake.
Do you remember chilling on a boat for the evening?
I do remember chilling on a boat for the evening.
Yeah.
The point of that tour was to see the rock carvings.
Sure was. To see the rock carvings. Yeah.
But weren't the rocks carved only like a
50
few years
ago?
ago?
Yeah, I think it was in the 1970s by a local group. They weren't some...
It wasn't
I think James told us that they were potentially... It was unknown how they were carved or something along that kind of lines. Made it feel really mysterious how these rock carvings got there. And then on the tour, they just said some local guy...
and like art students.
And art students, went and carved it in the 1970s or 1980s or something like that. So they were still really awesome. Don't get me wrong. It was really nice to go and see the carvings. Huge carvings tucked away around the corner on the lake somewhere. And yeah, it was just generally a really beautiful evening. We got pizza. They did vegan pizza. I think they ordered in Domino's. They asked for your dietary requirements before. So we obviously put down that we're vegan, and they got us a vegan pizza each from Domino's. And then they had beers, and you just sat back on the boat, and it was maybe an hour out there, I think. And then the sunset came down, and then we saw the rock carvings and then sailed back. And it was a really beautiful evening. It was a really nice tour, actually.
Very, very nice tour.
Yeah. Then the next day.
Was that the day we went? Yeah. Joe rode his first horse.
I rode my first ever horse.
Which I think is crazy growing up riding horses, but also I only think it's crazy specifically for you. It's not crazy that people don't ride horses. It's the fact that you worked on a farm with horses.
I worked on a horse farm in Australia
the
year before, 2022, whenever I think it was 2022. Mm-hmm. I spent six weeks on a horse farm and never rode a horse. Admittedly, it was a stud farm, so they were... no, it wasn't a stud farm, sorry. It was a breaking in farm, so they were breaking in race horses. So the horses that I was looking after, shoveling their doo-doo, these were $1 million horses. So the owners cared a lot more about the horses than they did about us. Yeah. So
you were not allowed to ride them.
I wasn't allowed to ride them. I'm not sure if I'd wanted to ride them. But on this occasion, I was very happy to have a go at horse riding, mainly to please my darling. Yeah.
I was going to say, I remember
she wanted to go horse riding.
Yeah, you were pretty iffy about it. And it was just us who did this. Yeah. I don't remember what James did. I think he just went out and chilled by the lake.
He did, yeah.
But Joe and I did this as a little solo trip. This was one of the only things that we booked last minute through a local tour company. I think it was just like a family-run business. Yeah. It was beautiful. We went through the woods. We walked across some rivers. It was such a nice experience. Yeah. I had a great time. Yeah. I love horses.
My dad's allergic to horses, so my whole life we've generally avoided it because the hairs just make him swell up. He has like an anaphylactic type reaction, can't breathe. So being around horses has just been a bit of a no-no for me. But it was good. I enjoyed it. Yeah. As much as I could.
So opposite of me, where my dad lived next to a stable where I grew up riding horses because of him. Yeah. I think my 4th birthday party was a horseback riding party for all my friends at the stable. Yeah. Yeah, such a great experience. Do you remember what we did after that?
Yeah.
Was that?
We left Lake Taupo. We did briefly go and see the big waterfall there. Hookah Falls?
Hookah Falls?
Hookah? Yeah. Hookah. I don't know.
Huka.
Huka, yes, Hookah Falls. That was really beautiful. We caught it just at the wrong time of day because the sun had just set, and it would have been so much nicer for the photos that we took if we just caught it as the sun was hitting it. Yeah. But it was still really awesome.
The other side of the lake. We were just wrong timing, wrong spot.
And then we left there and we went south a little bit further to our most southern point of the trip, which was probably the thing that I think Anna enjoyed the most, this next one. Absolutely loved it. Best thing ever. It was like a really short walk. It was great weather. Our feet definitely didn't hurt. Yeah, it was just all round a really good time. Do you remember anything about that? Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, what town was it in?
Tongariro. It was called the Tongariro Crossing.
And it was in Tongariro. I trauma blocked this video.
Tongariro.
Tongariro?
Yes, Tongariro.
Okay, so I feel like we got to the city pretty late though. I don't remember us getting there early at night.
Yeah, I think we got there in the evening and we were going to do the hike the next morning at 6 a.m. or something like that. So.
4 a.m. We had to wake up at 4 a.m. After already not getting like a lot of sleep. Yeah. And pitch black.
Oh, my name's James and it's 6:22 in the morning and it's the start of the hike.
Hi, I'm Anna and this is me before the hike.
We're at this campground or just parking lot. Did we stealth camp?
No, it was a big RV camping lot.
Where they pick you up
from. Which they pick you up from the next morning. So you choose your time slot. We chose to do, I think, the earliest time slot, which was 4 a.m. Or 3 or 4 a.m. That's when we started the hike. Yeah, it was a big day. It was a pretty big day.
How long?
I think it was 20 kilometers.
Yes. So as my American self, I'll admit.
Was it 20 kilometers?
It was around 20, yeah. I had no idea what that meant. I had no idea the conversion of kilometers to miles. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, didn't know anything we were doing. I literally woke up and was like, what are we doing today?
Yeah.
I was so oblivious to everything we were doing, so not mentally or physically prepared for this.
Look up how long it is.
It could be 20 or 23. I want to say it's like one of those.
Yeah.
It was...
My memory's terrible.
A long-ass hike. And the thing that really got us was the weather.
Yeah.
There were literally signs.
Yeah. 12.5 miles.
12, okay.
We're at the 10k mark, are we?
Yeah, baby.
Let's go, baby.
Woo! All the way back up at the top.
Yes. So for the conversion, it's 12.5 miles, this hike.
20 kilometers.
And it's not like you're just walking a regular hike. It's you're going up, you're going down, you're going nearly rock climbing at some points.
Yeah.
Especially because of the weather.
Yeah.
There were signs, a giant sign. I feel like we saw a few that said, if the weather looks like this, don't go.
No, don't say this because then it's going to make us look really, really stupid.
But we low-key were. Like, I know we only
No. The clouds cleared. They didn't want you to do that because it could be stormy. But it wasn't because they didn't want you to go up there with low visibility. We didn't have a low visibility issue. The visibility was great. There wasn't a cloud in the sky when we got up there. The problem the problem was the wind.
Yes.
That was what the problem was.
But I remember it looking exactly like the sign.
Yeah, it did, but that was at the bottom, and that was if the cloud stayed that low, then you wouldn't want to do that walk. But the forecast was that the clouds were going to clear, so it was okay.
So we kept going,
Yeah.
but the going up to the top because of the wind,
Yeah.
was incredibly hard. Wasn't it like 70-mile-an-hour
Yeah,
winds?
it was ridiculously fast winds, and somebody did get blown off there. I think either the day after or a couple of days after, and sadly died. So it was
risky.
Yeah, well, it was pretty wild. It was
a tough hike.
Yeah.
And neither my or your shoes fit properly.
No, they were both too
small. Struggling.
Okay, how was that, Anna?
That was very windy.
Very windy.
Very windy.
But you conquered that huge ass hill. Any response on that?
No, I had no idea what I was signed up for though. Still would have done it.
Smashed it though. Okay. Here we are. On the other side of Mordor. Sorry, I won't be so cringy. Say hi.
What's good, gang?
We've still got all of that to do over there. In between the gap there, we think.
You know what? I think it might be time for soon. Some food.
What time is it?
9:33.
That's what you've been thinking about.
Lunchtime.
You've just been thinking about the falafel wrap.
100%. Hundo, mate.
Hundo. Beautiful.
I'm struggling.
I'm pretty sure for the last 2 hours, Anna didn't talk to me or James. We all just walked in silence. Anna with I think she put her headphones in and just walked behind me and James for probably about the last 2 hours because she was so done.
Yeah. How long? It took us 4 hours?
No,
Or
it
6
took us
hours?
8 hours, I'm pretty sure.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Because we stopped and took lots of videos and photos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But also to catch my breath.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a pretty big hike.
That was
So
tough.
that was that one.
I do remember crying at a few points in time. And then getting up to the top and like you're seeing all these beautiful views and me having to force a smile.
Yeah.
Because even though I am enjoying it,
Yeah.
I'm in so much pain.
Yeah, she was crying behind those eyes. That smile.
There's lots of pain behind those eyes.
Yeah.
And there's even a picture of my hair is just like fully look like Albert Einstein.
Yeah, big time. Blowing up.
Crazy. The wind was
Yeah, it was wild.
unreal.
Holy shit!
Let's get the fuck out of here!
But it was beautiful.
It was.
So it's like
It was. Yeah.
it's I don't know. I would love to do it again in better health.
With better shoes.
With better shoes and better weather.
That would
Because
be
I
good.
know that would be a very enjoyable hike.
Yeah.
I think the bus driver even said his like mom did it pretty recently too. So it's like, mind you, this bus driver was old, so his mom was older.
Yeah.
So
It's not a super hard hike.
yeah,
It just made it a bit difficult for us because of the weather.
weather and the shoes.
Yeah.
Lots of pain.
Yeah.
Also, me not knowing how long this hike was.
Yeah.
And just mentally not preparing for this exhausting 8 hours. It was a time.
Yeah.
My name is Anna. This is me after the hike. All I have to say is, what the fuck is a kilometer? I didn't know what I signed up for.
My name's James, and we just completed the crossing. We smashed it. There were touch and go moments where I thought all the demons were coming out of Anna, but we got there. We killed it.
Hi. My name's Joe. I've just completed the Tongariro crossing walk. Time's 13:05. It's taken us 6 hours and 45 minutes. My feet hurt. I need new boots, but I feel great. Do you remember where we went after that?
No idea.
No idea?
Nope.
We went to some caves.
The same day?
No, it was the next day.
I'm like, no way.
I think this is our last...
I think it was.
It was the last thing that we did on the trip.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Waitomo.
Yeah, different town.
We left Tongariro, drove north, started heading back up now, because I think Tongariro was the most southern point we went to. So we started heading back up. Yeah, Waitomo was next on the list. And we went and did the Black Abyss caving experience with, I think it was called the Waitomo Rafting Company. I think that rings a bell. But yeah, they did, I think, a 1 hour tour, a 2 hour tour, and a 3 hour caving tour. We did the 3 hour caving tour. I wanted to do the most gnarly one because we were probably only going to go and do it once. So yeah, we went and did the Waitomo Caves. What do you remember about that?
I also remember hating part of it.
Really?
Do you not remember that?
No, I don't remember.
Yeah,
that.
I remember.
It was great.
No, it was.
Do you remember the get up initially? What we were wearing?
Yeah, we had a, what's it called? Abseiling?
Abseiling?
Down a tunnel.
Yeah, but do you remember what we were wearing?
Yeah, giant wetsuits and helmets, and we looked great.
And on our feet?
What were on our feet? Boots?
Yeah, giant white rubber wellies that they wear in flipping slaughterhouses or abattoirs. It's like the typical big... Yeah. But they put holes in them so the water drains out of them. But they're the boots that they use because they're the best for the rocks.
Yeah. We did like a little demo before actually going down of how to abseil.
Yeah.
And then it's one by one we go down. How far would you say that was? It was pretty long.
Yeah, it was probably... How long was that drop? It was probably a 30-foot abseil down a hole.
I want to say even a little longer. I remember there.
No, I think it was about 30 feet. It might have been a little bit more, but it wasn't massively more than 30 feet. The thing was, it was quite a small hole that we went in, and then it opened out. So you kind of dropped down this first section where it was super dark. Yeah, it got pretty tight, and then it went pitch black, and then your eyes started to adjust, and you realised that the cave actually opened up super wide inside. Yeah. And then you dropped all the way down to the bottom, and everyone else was waiting down there. Yeah.
And then we had to climb through some spots, and then at one point they had a zip line.
Yeah, they had a zip line in the pitch black through a cave. Yeah. That was wild. You didn't know when you were going to stop. Yeah, there was no...
Because they made us turn off our lights. Yeah. So it'd be more of like an experience. Yeah. Which was cool, but also terrifying. Yeah, because you also don't know how big you have around you.
No spatial awareness whatsoever.
Yeah. Complete pitch black. Yeah, and then they introduced tubes.
Oh, and this is where... Well, no, we had a little lunch break. Do you remember they had
snacks?
They had some little vegan chocolate brownie snacks and some hot chocolate, I want to say as well. And we sat there in the middle of this pitch black cave with just head torches on, sipping hot chocolate and eating little chocolate brownies, which was great. Yeah, and then we got the inner tubes, and then we did a little rock jump off.
Yeah, and that's where I didn't do that. I safely climbed my way down.
Safely climbed down. I did a pretty cowabunga style flying jump off the top of a rock with an inner tube.
Cool pictures.
Yeah, it was pretty cool pictures. And it was freezing the water as well. It was
so cold, yeah.
But we all landed, jumped down into the water.
I met you guys down there, and then did the water carry us? Or did we kind of have to...
We did a little bit of paddling,
and walking. I know there were some spots we could walk in.
There were some spots we did a bit of walking as well, but from my memory, what we did was all sit in our tubes, and then we made a big train, like a big centipede style train, and linked our legs over the person's tube in front of us.
That wasn't until like towards the end when we saw the worms.
That wasn't far after that bit though. Oh. We did everyone got on the tubes, and then they dragged us all the way along. Because we did, that was probably half an hour, maybe even a little bit more.
Of the getting down.
Yeah, of the getting down into the... Well, no, I mean the actual part where we were sitting on the tubes just watching the glowworms.
Oh,
that was it was a long amount of time. So, yeah, they linked us all together. I think there was maybe 9 or 10 of us, something like that, in our group. Linked us all on this big, long chain. I think I was right at the back or the front. I can't remember.
Us being towards the back.
Yeah. And they slowly pulled us through the caves while we were sitting back and looking up, and the roof, the ceiling of the cave section that we were in was just covered in glowworms. So it looked like you were looking up at the
stars.
The stars, yeah, starry night sky, and you sat there and it was super peaceful. Were they playing any music?
No, they were saying that they wanted one of us to sing, but nobody in the group were singers.
Yeah.
But they were saying it's a really cool experience if somebody does like to sing and sings for the group.
I've heard cave opera before. I've done that in Spain or somewhere like that. We listened to classical music being played through a cave, which is awesome. But either way, we went along on the tubes and sat there and sat back and looked up at the starry night sky, and it was super trippy that you were inside a cave.
Yeah.
And then I think
they were like bluish green.
Yeah, they were really bluey. Yeah.
Some were brighter than the others, so it was like really like the stars. It was super, super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that took a good bit of time. And then there were parts that we had to, like after we disconnected, we walked. I remember going down like a slide.
There was a little slide that we went down.
In the middle of it. Yeah. And then we had to climb up the waterfall.
Yeah, there was a double waterfall that we had to climb up to get out of these caves, which was it was optional as well. I think there was an easy route and a harder route, and we all chose to go up the harder waterfall route. And
which they also said they don't offer to every group.
Yeah,
they only do
on
it
their
to how like
abilities, I guess. So yeah, they said that we could do it, so we went and did this pretty awesome
climb up to get out of the caves, which was really fun. I remember poking our heads through and finally reaching ground level, being very happy about that, because that also stressed me out quite a bit. As beautiful as it was, I don't think I was in the right state of mind for majority of this trip. We did it pretty soon after I was in the hospital, but we did it.
Yeah, we did. We drove from Waitomo back up to Auckland after that, dropped the van back off, spent another day or two in Auckland just mooching around, went and got some yummy food. We found a really cool food area, which had loads of, what was it, a food hall?
It was a food hall that had like a few vegan restaurants.
Yeah, it had quite a few vegan restaurants, which was awesome. And then, like we said, we then dropped the van off and then headed back to Australia.
Yeah. And that was our first trip.
That was our first holiday together.
Our first trip out of our life.
Out of
which
our
is
holiday
already,
life. Yeah. In general, I think I had a bit of a better experience than Anna did. Obviously, there was 3 of us for this trip.
Yeah.
In sharing a camper van, me, Anna, and then our friend James as well. I know James from a ski season that I did earlier that year in Thredbo, and then James came with me to Cairns and then met Anna and they became friends as well. So we were all pretty pally, but I think Anna and James butted heads a little bit.
Too much like sister and brother.
Yeah, big time.
We went at each other.
Yeah.
I think me and were going at him.
He knew how to push your buttons.
He knew how to push my buttons and purposely pushed all my buttons.
Yeah.
And he enjoyed it. So, yeah.
Understandable.
Because also you left.
Yeah, but I know where the limit is. I know when to stop. James really didn't know when to stop. He
probably did, but just chose to keep going.
Yeah.
I would like to say overall, it was still an amazing experience and trip, and it was so fun. That was my first like camper van kind of experience, and I've always wanted to live in a van. I know I've talked about it numerous times on the pod. Yeah, I would love to go back to New Zealand. It was also, we didn't really mention how camper van friendly.
Yeah. New Zealand is super camper van
We
friendly.
didn't have an issue, honestly, anywhere finding a free campground, or if we wanted to, pay $50 for a night and then get some showers. And
was it that expensive? Was it $50 for a night?
not like each, but probably like $12 per person.
Something like that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it wasn't too expensive.
No, it was so easy. Unlike Australia.
Yeah.
To live and travel in a camper van.
Yeah,
New Zealand was very welcoming to that.
They have a much better camper van culture. They have camper van parks for you to go, like free camper van sites for you to go and park up in. And yeah, they definitely do a good job of that. But what was your experience of traveling with somebody else, being in a couple, and then having a friend outside of that couple with you traveling as well? What would you say the positives and negatives of that were?
It was such a different, new experience. It was something that's obviously I've never done before. James and I were friends prior to you and I like officially dating anyways. He was one of my first friends that I made in Cairns. So going into it, I definitely thought it'd be more chill and it wouldn't be so difficult. Like you and I were great. James and I were great. You and James were great. Like, you know, we all had our different dynamics, but I think it got tough when you and I spent every single day together leading up to the trip, alone, basically. To then introduce a third person almost like into the relationship. Where they're 24/7 with us. It's like we were in the same van.
Yeah.
There was no escaping each other.
Yeah.
And I was just like, where is my alone time? Where is my Joe time?
You've gotten used to having your space with me, right? And it just being the two of us.
Yeah. So then having James around, and then also having James around and pushing all of the wrong buttons for me, I was a little over it. But it's like tough.
I thought it was nice to share experiences with
Yes.
another person. I think it's always nice. Somebody that you love or that is your friend, and you get kind of pleasure from seeing them happy, right?
Yeah.
Seeing somebody else enjoy something makes you happy as well. And it was nice to be able to share that experience with somebody else. I definitely think that was the main positive from it.
No, for sure. I mean, like, I've traveled, Louise and I traveled so much together, and we've shared so many experiences together. And like Bali, it wasn't, obviously Louise and I aren't dating, and Louise and her friend Amelia, who came with us, weren't dating. It's not like that was a relationship and a friend. It was just like all friends on that trip. So it was different, but I was also kind of expecting it to be similar, where it was, you know, just three friends hanging out.
Yeah. Do you think it would have been better if it was two couples, or maybe a couple and two friends, so that they at least had somebody else to kind of talk to, where if we wanted some kind of alone time or peace and quiet?
I think an odd amount of friends or people traveling, there's always going to be some awkwardness in there. It's also hard to find that many people to travel with
that you like enough,
and that you like enough. Yeah, exactly. I think if there was one more friend, or if James was dating somebody at that time, it could have been better. Because then when I told him to F off after pushing all my buttons, he would have actually had somewhere to go.
Yeah. Not just upstairs in the van looking down on us.
Which, I don't think we kind of talked about the layout of the van. Was our bed we had to like make every night, because that was also the seating area. And then James's bed was the top bit that we also had to pull out and make as well, because it was also then the storage area during the day. How big, like, what would you compare that van size to? It's pretty small.
Yeah, I mean, it was your typical kind of roof pop-up VW style, VW transporter kind of van. But you could stand up in it. It had a high ceiling, and it had a top layer for one person to sleep. You could have squeezed two up there, and then
I don't think it would have held the weight of two people.
Maybe not. Well, maybe two kids. But,
yeah.
So that was our trip to New Zealand.
That was New Zealand. And I know Louise and I have always talked about how we also want to compare our trips, because she did it very differently. Yeah. She did it by bus, but not the Kiwi experience.
Just a public bus. Yeah.
I think so.
Essentially like a Greyhound, I think it was. She just caught a Greyhound style bus around. Yeah.
It was nice to get out of Australia and to kind of break away, because at that point we were working. You for 6 months, maybe, I think, or a little less. Me for 3 months at that point. So it was nice, like we said, to take a holiday from our holiday. And experience a new place that neither of us have been. James has been there before multiple times. Yeah, being half Kiwi. So he also kind of knew and was like our tour guide, more or less. It was a beautiful, beautiful country. Would love to go back.
Yeah, we'll definitely go back. We've got the ability to do working holidays in New Zealand as well, and I'd love to go to the South Island, maybe go skiing in New Zealand, tour around the South Island, go to Milford Sound. There's supposed to be some incredible things to see in the South Island in New Zealand, so it's definitely still on my list.
Yeah, for sure. It stinks that there are so many different countries that I'm like, I'd love to live in a van there. Yeah, because that is a country that I'm like, I want to live in a van there.
100%.
Like, it would be so beautiful to wake up every day.
But
in a van.
I think we would love to own our own van, which was kitted out in the way that we wanted it kitted out, and then put it on a boat and just go from country to country and drive our van around all of these places. That would be the dream, right? Because it's not very cost effective to land somewhere, buy a pre-made van or rent a van, and then leave that country after you've done your travels, and then try and do that in the next place. That's a hard thing to do. So
I feel like we're going to have to choose
Yeah.
one spot to
And it's
get a
gonna
van out.
it's gonna need to be a pretty big place, and I feel like it's either gonna be Australia or the US, most probably, or Canada.
Yeah, but that's like the
potentially.
same as the US. At that point, it would just be North America
North America.
and South America.
But you can't just live in North America. We don't have North American passports. You've got an American passport.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the idea of us getting a van and actually putting it on a ship and shipping it to different countries, it's not unrealistic. People do that. They put vans on boats to Australia, and you'll see when you drive around Australia, vans from different countries, because essentially that's someone's home. Right?
Yeah. I
Just
mean,
a home on
especially with
wheels.
how much that we invest into it.
Yeah. If we put a lot of money into it, you're not going to want to just sell it and then
Yeah.
try and buy another one and do the whole thing over again. You're gonna want to hold on to that.
Yeah.
So.
Anywho, I feel like this could be it for our New Zealand first trip
I think that
of
pretty
Joanna.
I think that pretty much sums up our Kiwi experience.
Yeah, and traveling, even though we only really talked about it briefly, but traveling as a couple with a friend is a very different and difficult, I would say, experience.
Yeah. Something to consider if you're ever thinking about going on a trip. They'd have to be a very, very close friend, I think, and somebody that understands your relationship quite well.
Yeah.
And knows boundaries, etc., before you are to commit to doing a kind of trip like that.
As more or less a third wheel.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
that's the pod. Welcome.
Thank you.
Do you have any final words that you'd like to say in your first feature? Because
I had a great time. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
This has been fun. I look forward to my next opportunity to come onto the pod.
Yeah, this definitely won't be the last time you're here, because I also talk about you way too much. But it's great to put a face and a voice to the name and have a lovely accent on the pod. We love accents on Guess Where I Am. And I kind of forget half the time that you're British.
Yeah. It's wild. I forget that you're American.
Do you?
We're in the same boat.
Does it go both ways?
Yeah, it does.
I didn't know
both
that.
ways. Yeah.
Is it until I sound like I have a potato in my mouth? Until you're like,
pretty much.
wow.
Yeah, when you do full mumble mode and I can't understand anything you're saying. Until next time.
Until next time. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you enjoyed us having a guest on the pod, especially it being Joe. I know I did. I love talking about our travels. We've done so much, so.
We have, in a short space of time, we've covered a lot of stuff.
And we're not planning on stopping anytime soon.
Well, we've got a little bit of a travelling siesta going on until probably this time next year, I think. Well, maybe with a little surprise trip that you might get to find out about at some point.
I mean, I did mention.
Oh, you already mentioned that on a different pod episode?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Africa.
Yeah.
That is TBD.
TBD.
TBD now. Because
Yes.
maybe it's not the right time of year, like we thought it would be.
We'll figure it out.
We will see you in 2 weeks.
Peace out.
I need to do my little spiel.
Sorry, I thought that you'd already done your spiel.
No, you fake fan. Anyways, don't forget to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Reddit, literally Facebook now. Literally all the places.
Wow. They got a lot of accounts.
Yeah.
Crazy.
We're there.
I think I'd probably follow them on
You don't have any social media. You can't.
Spotify?
Yeah. You don't have any
Maybe.
social media, so you have no idea.
Yeah.
But we're all there. We're there. If we're not, let us know, and we will be there. And yeah, send this to your friends. Send this to your family, your significant other, and plan a trip. Go to New Zealand. It's beautiful.
It is.
So much to do.
Get out of the US.
Not everybody
If you're
listens
from the
is
US.
from the US.
I feel like most of your listeners
Most.
are probably from the States.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
10 out of 10. Recommend New Zealand. We'll see you in 2 weeks. I don't remember what's coming after this episode, but we'll be there.
Oh, yeah.
2 weeks. Bye.
See ya.